is Michelle Rhodes. She usually tries to come. So we have some staff members that joined us. But yeah, Pat, it was just the one. I mean, not Pat, Michelle.
So I am in technology, tech, or nicer words. My tablet is not letting me connect to Zoom. My phone is not holding a charge, and this keeps freezing at random moments. So it only takes me like 30 seconds to come, not even 30 seconds to just reconnect once it boots me out, but hopefully it's a quick meeting and I don't have to worry about it.
Rachel, is your internet unstable? Sometimes it...
I don't know. I've kicked off everybody from the Wi-Fi at this point. When I left the meeting, that's what I did. I just went around screaming at my family members to get off the Wi-Fi because I think my oldest is playing a game and it's just making mine laggy.
Do you get completely kicked out or does it
It just freezes, it glitches. So I just exit and then click the link again, it puts me right back in it. But it glitches and everybody freezes but me. So I should be able to come back in quick if there's a roll call vote.
All right, I guess it's 6:30.
We're ready to roll then?
I think so.
All right, good evening and welcome to the April 14th, 2020 Northern London School Board meeting. This meeting is being recorded.
No.
To all those joining us virtually, we thank you for attending this meeting in our virtual temporary format. Please know that all webinar community member participants will remain on mute during the meeting unless they have put in a request to speak during the public comment period. Mrs. Martin, may I have a roll call, please?
Yes, please respond when I call your name. Gray? Gray?
Sorry about that, I'm here. I was muted.
Erdman?
Here.
Fowler?
Here.
Harlow?
Here.
Murray?
Here.
Klein?
Here.
Sekelic?
Here.
Nom?
Here.
Bucks?
Here.
All present.
Thank you. May I have a motion to adopt the agenda as presented?
Motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
I have a second.
Second.
Is there any discussion? This is a unanimous roll call vote. Your vote will be recorded in the affirmative unless you say nay or I abstain. The motion has passed. Next, we move on to our presentation for this evening. It is our budget presentation by Mrs. Martin.
Okay, I'm gonna attempt to, Leanne, you're gonna have, oh, you did unmute. I'm gonna attempt to share my screen so that she can walk through. Can everybody see that? You see a budget?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ready?
All right, go ahead, Leanne.
Okay, so this is the budget calendar that we've shown before, and as you can see, we're about halfway down. There's the April 14th budget presentation. The next big item that will be coming up is in May at the school board meeting to adopt our proposed final budget. At this point, PD has not extended our budget deadline, so we still need to have everything wrapped up and submitted into PDE on the same timeline as we have been expected to in the past. So as you can see there, we're moving right along.
We did put in red those dates in May, June, and then July because there has been discussion of pushing that deadline back. So if that happens, we would obviously do that in order to get a little more information on what they're thinking revenue-wise. And we also, the other change on there is the primary election date was pushed back to June 2nd. So you can see that change as well. But that's why those are up, the other ones are in red. If they push back our date, I'm going to recommend that we move our time frame back so that we can get as much detail as possible from the state before we finalize our budget.
Okay, so this is our revenue projection, and we worked on this prior to COVID-19, and at the end, Gary and I will go over with you some of the things that we're expecting to change. But the big thing here is that you can see the millage rates, and we did 0, 2, and then the index of 3.3% over on the right-hand side. And you can see the impact that has on our total revenue income for the year. Our LRTA money rate without having to do anything would be almost an additional $200,000 just by the LRTAs coming due. We did have a decline in transfer tax for 1920, and we were hoping to make up a lot of that in the spring because that's our biggest quarter for transfer tax of the year. And unfortunately, with the COVID-19, we are experiencing real estate agents can't even work. So we are really going to be short on our transfer tax now. And we're also, our overall real estate collection rate is down. So those are impacting our revenues, and we had taken those into consideration when we were doing the budget. And obviously we'll have to make even more changes to those as we go forward with the impacts of the coronavirus on us.
And I'll piggyback that. Leanne and I have talked a little bit about this too, that one of the other factors was if you guys remember, as a taxpayer, I remember Keystone, we didn't get our bills in the same time frame because they had a software issue. That impacted everybody that used Keystone. It wasn't a Northern Lebanon issue, it was from the tax collector. When that happened, we had extended the early payment rebate, which is a 2%, Leanne, right?
Discount, yep.
And we did have a higher amount of people than normal take advantage of that 2% because I think they had anticipated paying their taxes at a particular time. And then when we extended that rebate, they took advantage of it. So they had a few extra weeks for that, and that also had an impact. Now, and that may be the case again this year though too, because they may push back deadlines again, which means we'll have more people that are able to do that.
Some of the significant changes that we made to the budget were we added in a line item for textbooks. We added in the cost to cover our new online registration software, as well as transportation software that was purchased, and that will give us new routes and update all the maps for the community in our transportation software. We also included salary and benefit increases, and also the purchase of a box truck and a student van, and then some updates for our student computer lab. Some things that we deleted out of the budget were, Gary and I spent a lot of time just going through and cleaning up all the categories, all those account codes that had things budgeted to them year after year, and we kind of consolidated those and cleaned that up a lot, as well as we took out playground equipment that was in the budget from prior year for Jonestown because we didn't foresee any project like that needing done, as well as the rekeying project, which was included in last year's budget. Those were removed from the budget for savings.
Yeah, and I'll just, again, actually that box truck should say dump truck. But some of that stuff, as Leanne mentioned, we're gonna have to rethink a few things there, and they may just have to wait. Someone had asked about the rekeying project and why it's coming out. It was a completed project, and it's done, as is the playground. But there were a lot of other categories that you'll see along the line if you look at it a little more closely as we put the state version up. Certain budget categories that we really tried to clean up and get them in the correct places. Working with all staff that does purchase orders to make sure they are putting the correct account number on each purchase order so that they have an understanding of which account they're drawing from, and then making sure they have money left as they spend it throughout the course of the year. That's been a little bit of a learning process, but a good one. I think that's something that they've enjoyed kind of learning more about, so we're happy about that. But we'll continue to clean that up. There was really no track record for some of the categories, so I anticipate another year or two till we really get that solidified. But then I say that, and then this year is going to be a completely different year in terms of what we use, because we're not spending money in a lot of categories that we would have normally, these last 3 months. So, but we'll continue to work through that.
Some items that we wanted to bring up for consideration is updating the classified handbook, as well as our capital projects fund has had a $0 balance for quite a few years, and transferring some money into our capital projects fund.
Hey, that's not true. We have $30.
Okay, we have $30.
We have $30 in the capital projects fund. And basically, we would be taking some money from our uncommitted fund balance to committing to capital projects. If we would have had money in that account, for instance, we could have used money from that for the track for this year. So there's an example. And then I don't know that we've announced it yet, but we will. There's an exec session afterward, and we'll talk about the classified handbook further.
And then these are one-time expenses that we wanted to bring forward to include the budget. The track resurfacing, which we've already discussed and voted on. The cafeteria transfer, our plan originally was we were doing 3 years of $300,000 each year, and 2021 would be our last year of that. And putting in the $200,000. In the past, we had done $400,000, and we felt we were safe since we hadn't used that in the past, $200,000 into the budgetary reserve. As a safe hold there for us.
Can you explain what that is, Leanne?
The budgetary reserve?
Right.
Yes, so the budgetary reserve is an account where you put in $200,000 or whatever amount you want, and it's basically a safety net for unexpected expenses that come up throughout the course of the year that we don't have budgeted for. And what we would do is, to be able to use that money, we would have to come forward and ask the board to vote on it, and then we would take that money out. So say something broke that we had a bunch of boilers or something broke in the school district, and we needed to replace those, and it was going to be $75,000, and Mason's budget can't absorb that cost. That would be what this budgetary reserve is for, is the board would vote on it and say, yes, you may use that and come out, so that we're not going way over budget and then having to submit to the state. It's kind of the state allows us to put in a safety net for ourselves.
And again, that's something we've done in the past, but to the best of my knowledge, we haven't pulled money out of it in the past. We've always wound up under budget.
We've done it for the last 2 years since I've been doing the budget. And here is our expense trends, and as you can see over on the right, and I'm sorry I can't see it, there's on my screen, but the 2021 budget, the first one is without the one-time expenses and those items for consideration, and then the one over in the 5th column does include all of those. And as you can see, the 2021 budget, the first one there without all those items, is a balanced budget with our revenue that we were anticipating having. So Gary and I worked really hard together on that to bring you a balanced budget, but obviously there's a lot of things that we're also recommending you give consideration to, and that would require the tax increase to be able to cover those.
Well, and just to be clear, that I mean, some of those things, as I said, we're prepared to relook at. In addition to that, some of those things, some of that additional amount are one-time expenses. Those one-time expenses will pull from fund balance. The general rule of thumb is do not use your fund balance to balance your budget. However, to pull out fund balance for one-time things, that's okay, because those expenses won't carry forward. So those few things that we had in the previous slide, those are one-time expenses that we would be pulling out of fund balance. Now, the classified handbook and capital projects fund, those could continue and be expenses down the road, but then they would require more revenue. And
I've showed this graph each year, and this is updated now for 1920 millage rates. It's a comparison of all the schools in our county. And as you can see, Northern Lebanon's millage rate is far below everybody else's. We did do a 2% increase for 1920, and that's comparable with everyone else in the school district. And I see there on Palmyra, it's actually 2.5%, so I apologize for that typo. And just even with the 3.3% raise, which is our index, Northern Lebanon's millage rate would still be below everyone else's 1920 millage rate in the county. And this is a look at the millage rates increase for the year. If you did a comparison at a 0%, 2%, 3%, and then an index of 3.3%, and the impact it would have on your average homeowner in our school district. As well as in the blue, it is showing you the additional income that it would be generating for the school district. And here is just an overview of our fund balance and where we were at for starting with the school year. So as you can see, for 18-19, we finished with $4.8 million in the general fund. And our food service, we did do the transfer, so we are showing an improvement there. And our capital projects fund, Gary was correct, we do have $30.
We're gonna build me a new shelf. That's it. All right, and questions at this point? Clearly that a lot of things may change between now and May, just like a lot of things changed between March and April. Okay.
All right, I just want to take a moment to thank Dr. Messinger and Mrs. Martin. I know you guys put in a ton of work along with collaborating with the admin team to try to make that budget more reflective and accurate of where the expenses are actually going. It's such a shame that the coronavirus happened and is upsetting all of that hard work, but I know that you're in a better place now to adapt to those changes. So I just wanted to recognize that. All right, next on the agenda is the superintendent's report.
Yeah, I have a couple of things tonight. The first thing I think I can't go through this meeting without just mentioning that my heart and the heart of all the admin team and teachers goes out to the seniors. I know that it's been disappointing for them probably more than anyone. Those that were athletes or musicians had things that they wanted to do this spring, and even students and their time together. I joked with Dr. Bucks today that we were talking about seniors in April and May and what their work ethic will be working at home. And I said, I'll be honest with you, I was here at school in this building, and I don't think in May, my senior year, that I had a great work ethic, to be honest. I was thinking about other things. But it's disappointing for them. We are preparing to do some things to recognize them, to get them the attention that they deserve. There was a meeting today between the senior class advisors and Mrs. Hassler and Dr. Winger. They started discussions about how to recognize them. We've already moved forward with taking some funds that we would have spent on graduation and things, and we're purchasing some signs to put around this property and then ultimately their home, and hope that will have some meaning for them. But the one thing I keep hearing is, they want to get together one more time in some way, shape, or form. So we're going to do everything we can to make that happen. One of the things that impacts them is that was on the agenda and then was removed was a draft of the graduation resolution, and we were working through that with Brooke and the solicitor and Lee and rather than give you a final draft of that last minute, we pulled that for now. We'll put that on with the grading resolution as well in May, but we didn't have it done in time for you to see the final draft. But I do want to announce, and we will announce this to the kids, that one of the things that we feel they need to know that we will be removing is the community service requirement. They clearly cannot go out and finish community service at this point. They're not to be around people, so that makes it hard to do that requirement. So if they have not completed that, we're going to waive that. That's a local requirement. and then we'll have a completed resolution. You know, I think the thing to emphasize is that it's been clearly stated, and I completely agree, this situation should not be the reason why someone doesn't graduate or even move on to the next level, but certainly it shouldn't be the reason why someone doesn't graduate. And while their teachers truly believe, and I believe, that there's a lot of valuable learning that can be done in the next 2 months, we don't want the situations that they're currently experiencing have an impact on them being in a situation where they don't walk across that stage in whatever way we do it. So we're going to make sure that this isn't the reason why that they're not graduating. The other thing, just to draw your attention to, is our continuity of education plan that has been submitted to the state. That is, I sent you that earlier. That is the unfriendly version of what we have online. Now, what we have online in our parent letters and our learning plan that's in the form of a PowerPoint, those are the information for that continuity of ed plan comes from those documents and our discussions and information we've given to the teachers as well. So we've taken that, we put it into the continuity of ed plan for the state. The only requirement is that it's submitted. They don't actually approve it other than the submission. So that is done. But I would encourage the public that wants to look at that. I will put up the state plan, but it's much friendlier in the PowerPoint if they're interested in getting into the details. Also want to mention that there is a frequently asked question page for parents too, and as we get parents, we continue to add to that. But all that information is on the website. There's a pop-up when you go to the website that you can click to get to the main page. But all that stuff is there, and that requirement is taken care of. And that is the end of my report.
Thank you. All right, is there any other old business for discussion this evening? Hearing none, then we will move on to the public input session. Interested persons were asked to complete a written request to address the board prior to 6:25 this evening. We have one request, and that was from Mr. Andrew Murphy. Mr. Murphy, you will be unmuted. Please state your name and address. You will have 4 minutes for your comments.
Yes, Andrew Murphy, 1828 Blacksbridge Road, Anvil. I like that you're showing on your millage for with no tax increase. You actually came up with a balanced budget according to the presentation. So that is a wonderful thing that's been desperately needed for years now. I still will question the payment to the cafeteria fund because that's $300,000 that you're putting out when the auditors told us that we didn't need to do it. That could also give you a positive budget instead of a neutral budget. That's $300,000. It can also offset the cost of the track where you're at $456,000. So that would be able to, you'd be able to use your money further. So that would be wonderful there. I was interested in the resolution that you guys did have posted that you've pulled now because based on what my understanding was, everything the seniors did up to March 13th they could graduate from, and now, which would just about invalidate your continuing education for the seniors. So I'm interested to find out what that's going to turn out for not everyone has computers at home. So it will be interesting to see how that turns out. But I'm definitely interested to see if there's any more trimming we can do on the budget because from what the timeline looks like, you guys got to do your tentative budget approval and then almost approve the budget next month with not too much deliberation. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Mr. Murphy. We will now move on to item I. These are items for board action on the consent agenda. This includes items 1 through 14. May I have a motion to approve the items on the consent agenda?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second?
Is there any discussion? This is a unanimous roll call vote. Your vote will be recorded in the affirmative unless you say nay or I abstain. The motion has passed. Next, we will move on to our representative reports. Our representative for the Career and Technology Center is Director Klein. Director Klein, do you have a report for this evening?
I don't, but next month I'm sure to. It's been 4 weeks since we had our last CTC meeting, so I know they've been working hard, much like our district, in the last 4 weeks, and I'm eager to get some more information from them next week and report to the board. I don't have anything right now.
Thank you. Our representative for the IU is Director Murray. Director Murray, do you have anything for us this evening?
Just an update on the Reinventing Learning event that took place. It was a wonderful event. It was probably one of the last events that I attended outside of my home. So I was glad to be able to attend that. And it was, Northern Lebanon was well represented, and Tiffany Hogg from East Hanover talked about Seesaw, which has been, I'm sure she's doing amazing things, helping teachers and students be able to utilize Seesaw now, and there was a lot of wonderful things. I could go on and on about the event. Wonderful things that are happening in districts, in our district and in the districts around us. So it's a wonderful event if you get to attend it. Hopefully we'll be able to attend it next year. Really just a great event to highlight what people are doing in education. And that's the end of my report.
Thank you, Director Murray. It's great to hear that Northern Lebanon was well represented and sharing some of the great things that are happening here. Our next report is our legislative PSBA report. Director Sekelic, do you have anything for us?
Nothing to report.
Thank you. Is there any other new business for discussion this evening? I would like to announce that directly following this board meeting, there will be an executive session, also via Zoom, to discuss personnel issues. And then we have a couple dates to remember. Our committee meeting is May 5th at 6:30. This will be a virtual meeting. May 12th, the week after, is our voting board meeting at 6:30. If there's no other business for this evening, may I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I move to adjourn.
May I have a second?
Second.
This is a unanimous roll call vote. Your vote will be recorded in the affirmative unless you say nay or I abstain. The motion has passed. I call this meeting adjourned, and please stay safe and healthy, so we see you next month.